Guys, thank you so much for just taking some time out of your day. I know in the midst of this craziness of coronavirus and COVID-19 and everything that affect, but we want to take some moments today to try to rally our community together, the family together, so that we can have a clear path forward, and that you know what we're planning to do, what our commitment to you is, so that you can continue to just love and serve and care for and share the gospel and live that out amongst all of your youth and in your context. So if we will, can we just pray really quick, and then we have some things for you here, and we'll get into it. Let's pray. God, thank you so much, Lord, for your kingdom, that your kingdom is not hindered by this, Lord, but that you're calling us to creativity. And God, we know one of your names is Elohim, which means strong creator. And we know you're creative. And so we ask, Lord, for your grace and your mercy and your wisdom and your power and your resources, Lord, to help us get through this time. We know that although it's a tough time, there's opportunity here. God, would you open up our eyes? Would you fill us with hope and with determination? And God, would you give us courage to lead during times like these, and in this time specifically? We love you, Lord. I thank you for all of these wonderful, amazing, resilient leaders that you have redeemed, that you have cared for, that you have loved, and that you have placed them in spaces to see your gospel and your church and your kingdom continue to expand in our world amongst the youth that we love, in the cities that we love, in the regions that we love. God, we love you, Lord. We thank you. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
So, friends, we're here and we're calling you guys together because we want to make sure that you're encouraged. We want to make sure that you're cared for, and we want to make sure that you're resourced. And so here at UYWI, we hope we know that we hope that you know that we think the world of you, that you are some of the most resilient leaders that we know. We believe that you, the students that you are pouring into and loving, they're the future, and the future is here right now. And so we want to make sure that during this time that you feel encouraged, that you know that we have your back, and that we're resourcing you to continue the work amidst this pandemic. And so if we can be honest for a minute, things are going to get worse before it gets better. We're at if we're looking at the trajectory of this thing, we still got some time until it peaks and comes back down. And in the midst of that, things are going to change, and they're changing rapidly for churches. They're changing rapidly for youth ministry. They're changing rapidly for nonprofits. This thing is drastically changing our world. Now, we want to be honest about that. I don't want to over-spiritualize it. I don't want to under-spiritualize it. But we know there's some hard days coming. And so, but we want to be honest about that, but we want to land on hope because Jesus doesn't fail us. The church is not going to die. This is an opportunity in the midst of crisis to really kind of try to catch up with what is God up to, how he's going to redeem this, what does he want us to do. And I believe that you as leaders have an extreme part in all of that you are called for such a time as this. And so here at UYWI, we're a leadership organization to help you lead. So now is not the time. Now is not the time for us to stick our head in the sand. Now is not the time for us to just kind of wait this thing out. Although we're quarantining and we're trying to stay away from people and we're doing our part in that. Now is not the time for us to just kind of wait and see what happened. Now is the time for us to lead. We need you to lead, and we're here to help you lead. And so our youth, your youth, desperately need hope right now. Now is the time to be bold with the truth and of Jesus Christ and his hope. And we got to figure out new creative ways to do that. So we're here to help you lead. Now, what I love about our community and what I love about you specifically is that for a lot of people who have had a lot of resources, who have had a lot of money, who have had a lot of buildings, and who have, right now they're scrambling because they're, shoot, what are we going to do if we don't have, all the tides coming in? And what if we don't have all these things coming in? And it's a real thing. And I know a lot of us are dealing with that as well. But here's the thing. is you and I, we've been doing a lot with a little for a long time. You feel me on that? Like, you guys are the most resilient leaders I know. I remember at the nonprofit that I started and ran for a long time called Solidarity, we were moving into a new neighborhood, and we had no building, we had no budget for it, but we knew God had called us to this gang neighborhood, and we had a table, and we went to where they were slanging, where all the drugs were sold. We set up that table, and we started doing after school program on the street. That's the kind of people you are. You've been doing this for a long time with less, right? You've been creative about how you're going to reach these kids when institutions and churches didn't support you in it. And so we believe in you. It's kind of like the flood has come, but we're all fish. You feel me on that? Like, this is the environment we've been living in. And so you guys are perfectly positioned. God has poured into you. The places that we come from, we're ready for these kind of things. And so we just want to make sure that in the midst of all this craziness, that you're encouraged, that you're cared for, and that you're resourced, because we want to make sure that, what is it? It's not. Oh, okay. We want to make sure that, that you guys are, you have everything that you need to do what you've been called to do. I feel like you are ready for this, and you are prepared for this time. And so the future is here, right? And you're the ones that are leading them. And so we want to make sure that you have everything you need to do that. And so I know in a lot of our areas, you know, kind of like in the hood, there's a ton of conspiracy theories, right? Is that right? Is that what you're experiencing? Because that's what I'm like. All of our kids, I got people calling me, yo, Tommy, you know, I saw helicopters, and there's all types of stuff, right? I reminded one of our young people who called me yesterday about that, and I reminded him, hey, you know what? There's been a divine conspiracy from the beginning, and that divine conspiracy is Jesus, and it goes deep, brother. Put your hope on that. Get deep on that. And that's going to change the world. And that young man had hit me up because he was like, yo, Tommy, man, like I got into the Bible because, you know, everybody's freaking out. And Jesus talks right about anxiety right here. And he's in Matthew, right? Now, I've been telling this dude this for 15 years, but it took a pandemic for him to go to the Bible and get it and see the truth of Jesus. That's why what you guys do is so important. And so we want to make sure that we're behind you, that we are making sure you can do all of that. And so there's 5 things that I want you to know that we're committing to here at UYWI, and I want to share those with you right now. So there's 5 things we're committing to during this time. 1, we're committed to creating a stronger national and regional networks that can encourage, resource, and care for urban leaders just like you throughout our whole entire country to reach youth with the gospel during this pandemic. We want to make sure that the networks that are already there and creating new ones to make sure that you guys feel that you're resourced and encouraged through this time so that you can continue to reach your youth. Number 2, we're committed to discovering and sharing the best practices for engagement with youth in this time of physical distancing, right? Now, some of you guys are genius. You're already out there figuring all this out. We're going to have Bobby share in a minute. And he was, the reason we're going to have Bobby share is he was on this 3 weeks before everybody else. Like I don't know how, the Lord spoke to him. He knew what was coming down the line, and he was already doing this a number of weeks out. So we want to help him share. And we know that you also have amazing, creative ways that you're engaging with the youth. And we want to make sure other people know that. Number 3, we want to begin and curate a conversation about how today's reality shapes the future of the church and the movement of urban leaders. This is going to be extremely important because this changes things, and we want to make sure we're ahead of it, that we're not reactionary to it. Number 4, we're not just going to talk about it. We're committing to collaborating and creating strategies around the effects of this pandemic for the future of the church. And number 5 is we're going to continue to make the most authentic, impactful, and relevant resources, training, and coaching for urban leaders to usher into the future. Look, we're telling you guys, hey, it's not time to stop work. It's time to push in, and we're going to be doing the same. If you've seen our commercial, we have stuff already created coming down the pipeline to continue to encourage and resource you to be the best leaders that you were created to be. And so those are the 5 things that we're committed to. And so we are honored, and I mean that, honored to lead in this time, to have you be a part of this this tribe, this community. And so we want to make sure that you feel completely resourced and encouraged and cared for during this time. And so that's what we're committing to. And so we have Sean Finners online. Sean's going to be leading our effort, our task force, if you will, towards building out these networks and supporting these national networks. And so I wanted to introduce Sean. He's on, and Sean, maybe you could share a couple moments about what you see and what we're going to be doing.
Yeah, so I think in a time of crisis and epidemic, it's important for the church to be interactive and be proactive, not reactive. And so we want to be the first responders to this. The reality is that just like, nurses and doctors are really the ones that are helping people through this virus, it's an opportunity for us to help our students and help young people experience what the future of the church is going to look like. And so I think it's important for us to recognize that a lot of us have already been operating in a lot of these truths. We've been online. We've been working with kids in ways that are interactive. We don't have the finances and the resources often that suburban ministries do. And so this is an opportunity for us to show the church what the future of the church is going to look like. And my hope is that as we build these networks, both regionally and then nationally, that there would be opportunity for us not to isolate, for us to connect and to grow in leadership and connection with one another, that nobody would feel on their own or out in an island. I know a lot of people are afraid of what's going to happen with their church budget, with whether or not they're going to have a job. And so this is a great place just to share resources and help each other get ahead of what's coming. And so I think it's really important that we act right now really as allies to these students and to families in an urban environment, and for us to really be the first responders for the gospel for this next generation. My hope is that after this, that we don't go back to things as normal. Now, I hope that we can all get to a place where we're gathering again soon, whether it's 6 or 8 weeks out or whatever that looks like. But the reality is that ministry cannot continue as it's been. And so this is an opportunity for us to really gather together, share strategy, encourage, strengthen one another, and really see God move in our nation for the next generation as the church moves forward.
So what we're going to do right now is we'd love to, and correct me if I'm wrong, Cherie, but we'd love to actually have Bobby share, one of our leaders, Bobby Lopez. He's out here in East LA, and he was on this way before a lot of us were. And so I don't know how many weeks it was ago, but they had shut down their programming and they had started doing everything on digital. And so if we can, if Bobby, maybe if you could share with us some of the best practices that you are finding to engage all your youth. And so maybe if you could tell people a little bit about your context so that people understand how you're engaging, and then what are some of the things you're doing. And then after Bobby shares, we'd love to hear from all you guys. We just love to hear, hey, what do you need prayer for? What are you seeing? What kind of resources do you need? And we'll do it like that. Sound good? Is that good? All right. We'll let go ahead, Bobby.
Okay. So yeah, my name is Bobby Lopez. I work with at-risk youth in Eastside LA, and they're pretty unchurched kids, so we don't really have like a adult connection to them. We just have there's no parents. We just kind of directly work with the teens. And yeah, we did kind of see this coming, and we were kind of the reason we were kind of ahead of it is because we were kind of already moving this space anyways. We realized that the kids connect more to the internet than anything else, so we've been building systems to make sure that happens. And so when this happened, we just kind of jumped on those systems. So we were really blessed and lucky to see that come out. We really sat down and decided. We knew we weren't just going to broadcast our meeting online or really retry to do a meeting online. We knew what we were going to try to do was we were going to make sure that whatever the purpose for the meeting was we were able to fulfill those things. So rather than just saying, hey, let me just record myself talking and we'll all just meet, what was the reason for the meeting in the first place? So we broke it down into outcomes that we wanted to see, and then we broke it down to measurements. How are we going to measure those outcomes? So we had like, and the reason, what we did to be able to measure outcomes was we switched to like a creator page on Instagram. If you're a regular page, it's really good, but if you're a creator page, you have to go public. But the really awesome thing is you can see the different kinds of like engagements, reach, and different kinds of ways to measure what are you doing to accomplish your mission. And so we decided that we wanted, for every outcome, like for example with discipling, we wanted to see who was checking certain posts. And so we have a way to do that through the creator page. The next thing we did was we decided that we wanted the post to have purpose. So every post we did, we made sure they were digestible. How are we going to the kids aren't really going to take big bits of information at once. We asked one of the kids and they really said, if it's over a minute, I'm not going to watch it. So if I have to take too much time, so we made sure that it was in small bites of information, and that the kids were able to they were going to receive it and move on. But we realized that, there was a big thing that we're trying to teach over the week. So rather than just trying to teach our lesson in one small thing, how do we spread out our lesson over a long time and be able to just teach it throughout the week and in different ways and different modes? So we're not just teaching one big lesson at a time. We're actually teaching a bunch of lessons. We're teaching we're teaching one big lesson at a time, but we're using different modes in different ways. So like we made sure that it was impactful, that it was the right medium. So we went ahead and we said, okay, let's teach the sermon with like memes. If memes are effective, let's teach it with posts. Let's challenge the kids. Let's create challenges. Let's create games and things like that. So what did we want? What was the best way to fulfill that mission? What was the best way to fulfill that mission? Sorry, my daughter's here. And then, we did that. We also, one of the biggest things that we did was we knew that the kids, we wanted to develop connection with the kids and we wanted them to feel connected still. So we created testimonies online, and that was one of the biggest things. We put one of our leaders' pictures of a certain hard time in their life, and all this is relating to the theme. So we don't really call them sermons, we call them themes. So that we related to the theme of the week. And so she gave a little picture of herself at a certain time of her life and just talked about something she was going through that related to the overall theme. And kids connected to it right away. I mean, we had a lot of people actually messaging her and asking her questions at that time. So we made sure that we broke it down like that. We stayed focused with it's a monthly theme and a weekly theme. And so it's actually just one long sermon, throughout the week and everything like that. We also made sure that our platform had purpose. There are so many platforms out there that the kids are connected to. We wanted to make sure that we weren't fighting the platform. In other words, we weren't trying to do something that that the platform wasn't really used for. So like TikTok, we didn't really feel like you could build community on there yet, or that we had the means for that. So what we did was we created TikTok as a support system to do something to bring it to the main channel. So like TikTok creates our support system. It's little bites of information that supports what we're mainly doing on Instagram post. And our post has our biggest bites of information. And the information is just like, for example, like if I want to tell them, hey, these are the 3 things you can do, we put that on a post. And the reason we put that on a post is it lasts longer and it's going to stay there longer. And it's going to allow the kid to go back and look at it. And so it's really, really awesome because it allows them to be able to just kind of gulp that information down a little bit more. And so if you're going to put something bigger, something that's going to be deeper, go ahead and put it on a post. But if you want to interact with the kids, Instagram story is really awesome. You can, ask them questions, repost their answers to their questions. We did games where we were asking the kids, we were giving away gift cards. So that drew them all on at a certain time on live. And we just kind of did games and it just drew them in. We know this is good information for them, but we also know they're not going to take it unless we have to kind of coax them in. So we did games on live. We did IGTV was for kids that are more connected, kids that we know that are going to take more time to actually listen. We call them more of our church kids. They're the kids that are going to take more. They're going to sit there and listen to 2 to 3 minutes. But we realize they're still kids, And so 2 to 3 minutes is really good for that Instagram TV. Like today, my wife's doing one, and it's for a specific group. She's doing one for the girls, and she's focusing on how do we get, how does this relate to our biggest lesson, but how does it relate specifically to girls? So yeah, there's just different ways to do it. We made sure our production had purpose. We did a short bits of information, but everything in our shot has to relate to what we're trying to do. We realized real quick that kids don't really care whether you have a big old like lights and cameras. In fact, that actually works against you. They really just want personal connection. So a lot of our posts, when we're trying to talk to somebody as if we're sitting in the room with them, we're really just kind of talking to the camera by ourselves. And we had to ask ourselves, like, what do we do on a Wednesday that was part of the purpose? So one of the things we created was an advice line, and that kept the interaction going with the kids. And it also allowed us to do something we do on Wednesdays. A lot of my Wednesdays are spent just pulling a kid aside and talking to them. So we're still able to do that. So we made sure our sound is clear. That's really big. We see a lot of people posting online and their sound is like muffled, and it was really good content. But if the kid doesn't hear it right away, if it's not clear, they're going to pass on. So make sure your sound is clear. Make sure that you're able to really just kind of, they're able to get the information you're trying to give. And ask the kids for their creative input. This is like the most amazing thing. I am no longer teaching the sermon. I can conduct like the sermon, but I'm not teaching it. What we're doing is I'm doing little bits of it, but we're having the kids give little bits of it. So our leadership team is working on next week where they're going to actually be giving pieces of the sermon, and they're going to be teaching little bits of it. And because I'm older, I feel disconnected. They're actually helping us with our creative aspect. We're asking them, what do we do? And we're having them build the post. I'm giving them the content, they're building the post. It's kind of really, I mean, as much as this is a really horrible situation, it's kind of really, really awesome because it's allowing us to become more of a community than ever in that aspect. Yeah, and just, don't forget, the one thing that you can never forget is nothing beats personal connection. DMing is really big. Texting, we're messaging and connecting with the kids, calling them. Some of our kids, the way they have with their urban trauma, they always feel like they're bothering us, even though we've said it a million times. So we go out of our way to make them feel like they're not bothering us. We'll call them as a group. I'm really blessed. I'm blessed to have 7 people in a 1-bedroom house, and most of them on my team. And so we are like calling them as a group, and we're FaceTiming them, and we're messaging them, and we're letting them know we love you, and if you need anything, we're here. The kids, the seriousness hasn't hit the kids yet, but we're ahead of them, so we know it's going to hit them. So we're letting them know beforehand, we're here for you. We're not going to wait. We're not going to chase you down, because if you push too hard, if you try too hard, the kid will run. But we're gonna make sure our presence is known in your life, and so we're here. But I want you to be patient. One thing that I was really stressed day 2, day 3 when we started doing this, because I was like, we're not getting the engagements and and we're retraining the kids' habits, and you got to take time. This is a new habit for them to connect online too. They've always seen you on Instagram, but this is new for them. It's gonna take time to understand how to digest this information, and so just be patient with yourself and try different things. Every week we're sitting down saying, what can we do different and more effective? What didn't work? We're using our creator page to look at stuff and say, what is it that's not going to work now? What is it that didn't work? And what's more effective for doing this? We're having a lot of meetings like that. This is probably, to be honest with you, this is the most effective time of our ministry. We're reaching more kids than ever. We're reaching them at their home. You got to think of it this way. If a kid's going to think about suicide, they're going to think of it at 12 o'clock at night. Your sermon won't be there at 12 o'clock, but your post will. And so this is the opportunity that we've always wanted to connect deeper with our kids, and to reach more kids than ever. One of my lessons probably hit at the most, we had 140 kids at one of our meetings. We're reaching like 300, 400 views on some things, 500, 600. It's going up. And so we're just really, as much as we're really kind of fearful of what's going on and kind of walking cautiously in faith, we're also excited about what God's doing. It's causing us to innovate more and be more impactful. So yeah, that's what we're doing.
Dude, Bobby, that was, you dropped so many gems right there, brother. Like, so I hope for a lot of us that's really helpful. I can see we got some questions for you, brother. And so since I'm leading this thing, I'm going to ask my question. I think you kind of answered it, but as we get some other questions on here for you. So are you finding that, are you guys able to reach students that you previously didn't reach before? Like they weren't connected to your work, but because of this, you're actually reaching kids that you just actually didn't know.
100%, 100%. And what's really cool is my kids are sharing their post. And so I'm reaching their friends like never before. They're sharing the information. We are kids that are disconnecting, we're able to connect them back. And this is what's really awesome. You normally have a kid who doesn't show up on that night, on your Wednesday night or Thursday night. We're actually messaging them and saying, hey man, what's up? So we can know they're there. So we're able to keep track of the kids who kind of trailed off. And yeah, it's just like, it's allowing us that opportunity to not only just reach more kids, but those kids that are kind of pulling away, so we can have the direct call with them. On a Wednesday night, I'm trying to sit down and talk to 100-something kids and really just kind of let them all know we love them and we care for them. Well, now I have a whole week to do it. And so this is really awesome.
That's so good, man. So what are some other questions, Sheree?
Yeah, so we have some questions from the crowd. So I'm going to go ahead and unmute Cumby. Here we go. Mr. William Cumby. You can talk now, sir. Hello. William Cumby.
Yeah, I'm here. I'm
there
talking.
He is. All right. What's up?
All right. Hey, man, just wanted to say thanks for putting this on. I mean, I know it's breakfast time out there in California. We're here eating our lunch tacos. So shout out to Sean and his, thuggish ways for getting breakfast. But I did have a question. When you talked about reaching out to your kids and getting maximum engagement through digital media, what were the top 3 social media sites that you got the greatest return from? I know you said TikTok, but what else do you say is, because I don't want to invest efforts into something with the smallest amount of return.
So definitely not Facebook. In fact, Facebook is a taboo within teens. They'll deny that they even have one. Even if they have one, they'll deny it. It's really good for reaching your leaders. But I would say the best one would be Instagram, because even though kids are moving to TikTok, there's a better community that you could build on Instagram for right now. So I would invest heavily in Instagram. And remember, there's story, there's IGTV, there's different ways. And you could also create multiple pages. My leadership has its own page that we're actually teaching the leadership lesson throughout the week on. So we're investing a lot in that. TikTok is really important. You cannot deny the power of TikTok and where everything is going. It will eventually, everybody will eventually land on TikTok. Generation Z is already there. And so you have to utilize it, but I don't think right now that could be the main one. More people are still on Instagram right now than ever.
Good stuff. All right, Instagram, TikTok. We will we'll start putting some more efforts in those places.
Real.
Yeah, and then also you said you talked about engaging them and how to not negate the personal engagement. You said direct messaging and texting. Now that's a fine line, because we talk about talking to kids and leaders talking to kids, and now the parents like, whoa, why are you talking to my kid in direct? How do you navigate that?
So we have an Instagram page for everybody. That's not an individual page, that there are other leaders keeping other leaders accountable on. So if unless there's a side conversation in which that really is always going to happen any other way, our main Instagram page, our leaders are reaching out and talking to them and saying, hey, what's going on? Are you okay? And everything like that. So yeah, we use that. And then, it is apparently up to your individual, how you trust your leadership. These conversations are happening with these kids normally. I agree with you 100%. That's why we make sure that there are only certain leaders that we're encouraging to connect on text and everything like that. But yeah, the main page is really the best one. You just have to let them know, hey, that this is who this is sometimes.
Thanks.
And well, just to let you know, Instagram is ours right now, but always different areas have different moves. So when I was in Arizona, they were using Facebook when everybody was moving to Instagram. So it might be different. I would check with your kids more than anything else. The context might be a little different.
Very good. All right. So now we have a question from Nohan. Nohan, are you there?
Hey guys, how's it going? What up, Bobby? Just wanted to ask a quick question. I know you talked about the audio perspective, and for example, thank you for even reaching out to us when we posted something yesterday. That was a really good call out. So I think one, it's knowing that as leaders, let's support each other. So I want to say thank you to that. I know that yesterday I had some audio issues, and I didn't even think about that. So like, how did you guys resolve that challenge when it comes to audio? And speaking of like when you guys are on IGTV or whatever that looks like.
So one of the things that we did, like I said, we always check our videos when we always have someone checking our live when we're on to make sure that other people are hearing it. But we purchased, so Amazon's still running out here. So we had already done this, but we also got some more stuff. We purchased the right mics. There's mics on Amazon that'll connect to your phone. They're really helpful. And so we have mics that they're not that expensive. They're really, because everybody's doing podcasting, everybody's doing things like that. They're really cheap. And so you can go on Amazon and you can connect with the right mic, and it'll basically, you either have ones that'll just cut out the sound of the room, or you have ones that'll just kind of soak up, or, you know, if you're outside, they'll have ones that'll block the wind, things like that. So don't be afraid. They're about, I mean, they could be anywhere from like 25, which remember, you pay what you get what you pay for, to like 100 and something, or even way more than that. But also remember your room you're shooting in. If you're in certain rooms, it'll you know, drown out the sound. So just be aware that your environment will affect your sound. And that's why I always say, once again, check it over and over again. We had an incident where our sound, we did it on, we started an editing program on InShot. It shifted the whole sound. So my voice was being played over one of our leaders, our female leader's voice, or my body was, it looked like I was talking and it was her voice. It was funny, but it obviously wasn't doing. So just make sure you're checking your videos every time.
Awesome, man. Thank you, brother.
Thank you, man.
All right. Chris Schaffner, are you there? All right. Chris, you're using an older version of Zoom. All right. All right, Chris, are you there?
Hey, there I am. Yep.
All right. Talk to us, brother. You have a question.
Well, yeah, I had a couple. Just as we move to more of an online platform, I'm just concerned we're meeting real needs of our students too. So I think about mental health. I think about food. I think about personal contact, which we all need in a physical way. So I don't know, I broke it down in a couple of different questions. How are you partnering with schools in your community to ensure that kids who rely on public schools for meals are being fed daily? Yeah, let's just start with that one. So kind of moving away from the technology that we're connecting with kids, how are we still meeting those real needs?
So one of the things that we've done is basically staying in contact with the LAUSD. They're changing information, changing every day. So we're trying to become the point of information for those kids. And so we are putting out like, hey, there's food here, there's food there, and things like that. We have these things called mission that we're going to do every week. So we're asking the kids directly, what do you need? Now our kids, because of their, like I said, their urban background, they never want to feel like a problem. Or they always feel like a problem. And so they're not going to tell us. So we have to like find out what's the biggest need. We're calling them. And then we have missions. We're actually going to be going out, which we're going to be recording and dropping off supplies for kids. We've taken a list of it. And so we do it once a week. And because we want to encourage other kids to do it, we're going to be recording that and putting it online and showing the highlights of that so that kids know, oh, they're actually doing this. So the first thing we did, and then we also created a network with churches. We called churches, and we're asking them, can you help us? Because there's certain churches out there who don't have anybody coming for the next month or so, or however long it is, but they have a lot of toilet paper. So we're asking them, hey, can you cook us up with this kind of stuff? And then our leaders are in certain spots. So to kind of limit the amount, we're actually having the leaders come pick up stuff from us, and whoever's close to that house, we're going to be doing, having them just go back. So it creates it gives the leader the opportunity to meet with us, but it also gives the leader it almost forces the leader to meet with the kid in a way. So yeah, that's what we're doing on that.
Nice. So just a follow-up question then. So as you're taking care of kids and your volunteers are taking care of kids, how are you providing self-care or community-based care to those who are serving to protect against stress and vicarious trauma and compassion fatigue?
So are you talking about like the nurses and the things like that, or just the people that are doing?
Just your people that are volunteering in your ministry.
Yeah, so really it's just, so we have a whole different channel for that. I mean, like last night we had a Zoom meeting with our people, and honestly, it was almost tearful seeing everybody in one, space. We saw each other all in there, and everybody just kind of was like it was a lot of emotion because we hadn't seen each other. We've been used to seeing each other for so long. So we did no, it wasn't a Zoom, it was a Google Hangouts. We did a Google Hangout, and we talked, and we just asked, and we I think people think because it's online, I don't doubt the physical part of it, but it was still as emotionally impactful, and it was even a little bit more because they were in their home. So it really, we are doing that. We're checking in with them. There's not a lot we can actually do at this point, but we can be creative, right? So we're calling them and seeing how they're doing. My leaders, literally, I'm calling one a day and having a phone call with them. I know this, and it's hard because phone calls are from my generation, and they're used to texting, but I'm forcing the phone call, like, hey, I want to talk to you. And they're like, yeah, okay, what do you got? And I'm like, no, I want to talk to you. And so I'm retraining them, right, to go do that. So I have to be patient. And sure enough, yeah, we're having those conversations. How are you feeling? What's going on? And then I ask them directly, because we focus on emotional health a lot. How is your emotional health? What are you doing? Let's be proactive. What are you doing to keep your emotional health? Me and my wife and and our whole little family tribe here, we're going on walks. We're having daily little exercises. It's actually brought us closer together. We have movie night together. Like Jimmy Kimmel said the other day, I found out I had kids. Like my kids are here in my walk in my day. I hate to say it, but during this really big tragedy, I'm really feeling blessed in the fact that I'm realizing how much I'm just being really honest, neglected my family to some extent. And I'm now my daughter the other day, I was doing work and she came in and I just felt like this is such a great opportunity. I can do this later on in the day. I sat there with her and I made a volcano, or we made a volcano, it's so basically, yeah. And I told them about this. Yeah. And in order to encourage them to take care of their emotional health and stuff.
Awesome. Hey, Tommy Nixon wants to jump in real quick. Go ahead, Tommy.
I love Chris's questions, and actually I'm going to put Chris on blast a little bit. He's actually part of a coordinated response team in Illinois. So you're right, Chris, you're deep into this. And so part of it would be man, it might be really great, Chris, to even connect after this call and to really dig in. Cause I think your questions are really helpful, but I also think, I think you actually have some answers to some of those too, Chris. And Bobby, love what you shared, but I think we could actually, I think those are really great things. And that's going to help us continue to get through those kind of questions, and then coming up with those answers and figuring that out. So Chris, thanks for that, man. And thanks for all you're doing out there, brother. Cause I know, Chris works with a lot of teens that are dealing with homelessness, and he's on the front lines every day, making sure people are literally surviving with food. So I love everything you guys are doing.
Looks like Caleb Reed also had a good response as well. So Caleb, would you speak?
Yeah. Hey guys, how's it going? Yeah, we one of the first things we did was just jumped in and began knocking on the doors of families that we serve, and just getting out there and splitting our team up and seeing what needs they had and how we can specifically support them, whether it was food, toilet paper, diapers, wipes, whatever it was. And we jumped in with our community partners and had a meeting earlier this week. And so 𝐅𝐸 has become the kind of central location to drop off donations here in our neighborhood. And right now our basement's packed full of all kinds of goodies. I actually barred one of the doors shut to make sure nobody tries to break in and snatch some of these things. But we yeah, just doing what we can and rallying the neighborhood around to support the families. We've got the elementary school that's about 600 students here in the neighborhood, K-8, and just whatever we can. We've got a local farmers market that's bringing by some fresh produce today because their farmers market has been canceled. And so as I speak now, we're loading up food boxes and getting the food out because we know that's a huge need for the families here in our neighborhood. So definitely with what Bobby was talking about, the online content, we're just venturing into that and meeting today and seeing how we can best reach our youth via those platforms. So this is definitely timely for us to know how to best do that.
Awesome. Nohan is up next. He has a question. Nohan.
Yeah, so my other question, I think it's going to be geared towards Bobby. Wanted to know, Bobby, you talked about TikTok and Instagram. What about YouTube Live? Is that something that anyone has thought about? I don't know if you guys thought about that.
Well, 100%. The only issue is, like, I'm really big on focus. So somebody told me the other day, YouTube and YouTube Live, or YouTube is basically the Google for kids nowadays. Rather than Google, they'll go on YouTube to figure out everything. So it's really good opportunity. We just felt like there was so many opportunities, we had to focus, and that was really big to us. If we went in every direction that were really good ones, we wouldn't be as impactful. So we decided to just kind of bring it all in. I think it's really good. And if your kids are actually connecting on there, and that's why I said, you really got to check with your kids, take a poll. There's actually on Instagram story, you can ask the question and the kids will write back their answer to that question, and it'll all just go in one spot. So ask the question, what do you guys want? What do you guys connect most on? And then you could even put polls, yes or no, and things like that. So there's way different things to find that out. But whatever the one is the most, my suggestion is focus on that one. Don't try to do too much because you'll just drown out. Just focus, have a main one, and then have everything else supporting that main one to build whatever, to get the results you want to get.
All right.
Awesome.
We have a question from Lizzie. Lizzie, are you there?
Hello.
Hi.
Hi, can you hear me?
We can.
Hi, yeah, I'm Lizzie. I'm in a Shalom Squad, the youth group here in San Jose, California, and I'm also a nurse and working right now. So I wanted to share, just wanted to share a little bit, if it's okay, some of my perspective from being in both sides of the field, you know? So last night at the hospital, we were told like that we're gonna have to start reusing masks and we're running out of wipes, et cetera, and the beds are filling. So one thing I wanted to share is like, this is a perfect time. I think that we don't have to have fear about those things, but that God can give us a really good wisdom about how to care for those who are most immunocompromised and vulnerable in our communities. So for example, what we're doing is like, just like calling and FaceTiming a lot. Like the girls I mentor, I'm just FaceTiming, even if they don't pick up, maybe they'll pick up tomorrow, you know, and then they do. It just depends like kind of where they're at, if they want to pick up or not. And we have one young woman on our church who's kind of doing like ding dong ditch for groceries. So it's really streamlined. So it's not a lot of people being like, us and a million different households can bring food to people, but it's like one woman who is finding out who needs the groceries in our community. And then she's leaving it on their doorstep and calling them or letting them know without ever seeing them face to face. Because it's just so important that we don't see people face to face right now, seeing as like, even if I'm healthy and you're healthy and the youth is healthy or whatever, I can be without symptoms and I can pass it to the youth and they can go home and grandma's at home, you know? So just wanted to put a word on here about being sure that we're like loving our neighbors well by actually not seeing them. As counterintuitive as that sounds, it's kind of like what Tommy said, that we have to be creative, and we're creative people in urban ministry, you know? And I guess the last thing I wanted to say about that is like, for our youth that have phones, we can remind them to check in with their parents, like, hey, we have that one centralized person who's giving groceries, so just please check in with your mom. What does she need? What do we need to drop off at your house? You know, and kind of making that process streamlined. So just wanted to share that a little bit from both the nursing perspective and the urban youth worker kind of combo, you know?
Yeah. All right. Excellent. And so it looks like we have Sean Fenner wanting to jump in and interject. Go ahead, Sean.
Yeah, so I just wanted to go back really quick to Noan's question. Noan, that was a great question, and I love Bobby's response. But the other thing I would say is just remember that there are resources out there, you know, Mevo cameras, different things like that, where you can go online on multiple platforms at the same time. So if you're across multiple platforms, you know, it's really good. You can use the Connect feature through Facebook, YouTube. These are all integrated now. So it's a really great space to be able to do that. One of the things that we're doing is we're also offering different pieces of content on different platforms. And so, for example, like with YouTube Live, we're doing more of a full service. Or you may even now, you know, as we get more isolated, want to use something like Zoom, where different people are doing different elements. You post the whole thing live, and then only offer certain elements to students afterwards for interaction. Because you do want to try to create a space where students still feel like they're coming into community. Because after this, we're not going to want to keep our kids just online. There is going to be a time where we all gather back together. And so part of the new reality is that we're reaching students online, but we also want to get them gathered in spaces again and in community. We know that that's important and that God asks us to do that, to gather in community. So when we're able, we're going to go back to some of that reality. And so try to think through in your strategy ways that you're helping kids tune into community and feel like they're getting connected. So we're, you know, not offering certain worship pieces unless it's live or different things like that. So kids feel like they're making time for community and connecting in, and they're not just getting it anytime, anywhere. So you got to kind of balance that. Bobby gave great points about, you know, your sermon's not there all the time, but your post is, but they still need that intentional.
Looks like you, okay. Sean, you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, you
You got me?
Yep. Okay. All right. Tommy, do you have anything else? We have some more questions, but I know you wanted to roll out the plan. So do you want to go ahead and say that again, since we have some more attendees on, and just really give the marching orders that you Urban Youth Workers is going to be doing in the next few weeks?
Yeah, and so part of it is, one of the reasons we wanted this call is to make sure that we heard from you guys. Like Chris asked really great questions. Like, we're giving like a small piece of information on this really huge thing, and that we're all trying to figure out. And so, you know, having Lizzie share, you know, the medical perspective, like how can we help our young people understand what's really going on? Bobby talked a little about that, you know, and making sure, you know, that we treat this seriously. In the midst of all that, how do we continue to reach out to our youth, care for them? And then I love what Chris brought up too. And at the same time, how do we care for ourselves in that? Most of you aren't good at that anyway. If we can be honest, you know, most of us are, you know, we're always like, no, it's, you know, it's got to be everything all the time. And that's not really my heart either, man. I'm a big rhythm kind of guy. And this whole thing has kind of jacked me up. I'm like, oh my gosh, like, how do I operate in this new way? And so we get it. We want to continue to give resources to that. However, what we do want to do is, we are really working, and Sean's going to be leading the effort. We want to make sure that each one of you has networks. So how can we create a really, in a sense, a task force to, and we've reached out to a number of you guys that are regional leaders. How can we create networks for you, get you the resources that you need to then continue this? And it's that whole thing. It's how do you, you know, on the health piece, how do you do that? On the self-care piece, how do you do that? Hey guys, make sure, I know you're pouring out. What are you receiving in? That's why we have things like Monday Morning Church, you know, that's coming out soon next week, to make sure that you're being, you know, filled up with things. You know, so we want to make sure, how do we do that? So Sean's going to be pushing. We're going to be reaching out to a number of you. How do we help you create networks so that you're being resourced and that you're resourcing other people, and that we're doing it in a holistic way?
Yeah.
Because we're in for the long haul. This is just what it is. And so we're going to be pushing forward. And we know, just like we platformed Bobby today, the rest of you are doing amazing things that we want to know about and that we want to get to other people. So we want to utilize our network to do that. So that's what we're going to be doing, creating the networks, creating the resources, getting them out to you guys, and then making sure that we're getting feedback. And so we're making that loop to make sure that we're all in this together. And so this is not the last Zoom call. This isn't, this is the first of many. To make sure that you're supported. The other thing that we're going to be doing is creating a Facebook group. Now, Bobby, let us know the youth aren't on Facebook, okay? But we're all old heads here, relatively speaking. So we're gonna gather on Facebook. There's going to be a national Facebook group where we're going to be making sure for the health and the care for you guys. Hey, what are you guys dealing with? What's working? How are you doing? How can we support you? Sean mentioned it. We got some tough times ahead.
Yeah.
Where money is going to be tight. And so we want to make sure, how can we support each other on this on a national level? Anything else you want to add to that, Sean?
Yeah, I just
real quick, I'm going to interject. So Sean, if you could, since we have everybody on, if you could put it in 3 steps, what the next things are, again, like when you're talking about national networks, go ahead and talk about the regional plan, what the next steps are, call to action. That'd be fantastic.
Yeah, so we really just want to encourage you guys that, again, you're the first responders. I think it's so important for you to understand that, we heard from brothers and sisters that were already on this call that they're already doing a lot of this stuff and they're in the thick of it. And so what we want to do is create a resource group, a connection point, so that we're creating a national group, and we're asking you guys to create regional groups out of that via a Facebook group. We're also going to be using resources like GroupMe, where you can build a network in a group that's specific to your region. I know, for example, Caleb, you were on the call. In Phoenix, you're a leader of leaders in the city, and people turn to you in times like this. And so what we want to do is we want to create a space where people can interact and connect with each other in that. And so we're going to be rolling that out, and we're going to really have opportunities for you guys to connect and to be a part of that. So what I would just ask, if everybody on here, if you guys want to take my info down, you can begin to connect with me. And what I'd love to do is just kind of give you some simple steps of how you can get started and connected in your region. So I'm going to give you some contact info. If you have a piece of paper, you want to write it down, put it on your phone, chat, whatever. My cell phone number is 562-746-8866. Again, 562-746-8866. And my email is Sean, that's SEANF as in Frank, at llcf.org. That's Sean F at llcf.org. That's short for Light and Life Christian Fellowship. What I want to do is just help you guys do what we've been doing in Los Angeles. Bobby and other leaders and I have gotten together, and we've created these opportunities for people to be united in our city. And so we want to give you those resources. We want to help you do that. Also, UYWI is a great space for you guys to get resources, training, community connection, the things that you really need. And so we want to help you get those resources and then know really how to use them in your community. Again, we're all going to come out of the other end of this. We all are, whether it's 4 weeks, 6 weeks, 8 weeks, 6 months, we're all going to come out of the end of this, but things are going to change. And this is what I would say is the way we respond as a network, as urban youth leaders, is going to make all the difference for when we come out of this. So now's the time to unite, to connect, to gather, to share those resources, and really live as the church, to lay down titles and competition. This is for us to create an opportunity for you guys to be all connected and really serve one another. So be looking for that Facebook group that's going to be coming out for you to join the national network. We're going to have great moderators on there that are going to be sharing content regularly. You're going to see Zoom calls. And then we're going to give you really a starting kit for yourself regionally. How can you be a leader of leaders in your city? So creating that Facebook group, creating a group meet, checking in with people, giving ideas. You want people that are bivocational, especially. I love hearing from our sister and from no on this. They're on the streets, they're interacting with this, they're seeing this. And so it's just really how we want to lay this out and get you guys connected into this. So feel free to text me. Feel free to email me. We'll be inviting you guys to join those groups. And we're excited for what God's going to do out of this. Know that whenever there's a time of crisis, the church is called to step up and make a difference in our cities and for the world. And this next generation is going to know the love of Christ by how we respond to this crisis.
Yeah. I just put the link as well for the Facebook group. So those that are on the call, there's a link. And it's a private group because we really want to make sure that the people that are in this group are vetted leaders and really just have a strong, moderated conversation and no distractions and craziness. So you can request to join and we will go ahead and approve you. So the link is in the chat right now.
Thank you, Sheree.
Tommy, do you have anything else?
Yeah, I mean, what I would say, guys, is that we're honored to lead with you in this time. And I do really believe that you are uniquely equipped and created for times like this. And I believe I said every time I get up, anytime I get to speak, this is the future of the church. You are leading it right now. This is what the church is going to look like, the spaces and the students that you lead right now. And so I believe that wholeheartedly. And I feel like this crisis, really, this pandemic, is a catalyst towards that. And so we want to support you. We want to platform you, this movement of God in and through you to continue to see these students get the gospel. Because here's the reality. Evangelism, I've been saying this a lot of times, like evangelicalism has kind of ruined evangelism. You know what I mean? Now in a time of crisis, students are like, what? I don't know. I'm freaking out. I got a call from a young lady she's an adult now, but I knew her as a student, worked with her. Haven't heard from her in years. Hit me up. I'm freaking out, Tommy. And I was able just to bring her back to the truth. This is our spot. And we've got to live that ourselves. So we want to support, encourage you. We want to care for you. We want to resource you. We're with you. We're for you. And like we've always said, we are you. We're all still doing this work. So thank you guys. We bless you. I would say, Sheree, is it okay if you want to stay on and you just need to be like, hey, this is what I'm concerned about. I'll stay on. Maybe some of us will stay on. And if you just need to be like, hey, I'm really worried about this, or hey, I had a question about this, or I wanted to say this, I'm here. So we'll stay on. The rest of you guys, we want to respect your time. We're right at that hour point. It took us about 5 minutes to make sure everything was straight. But I'll stay on. And if you just need to talk or get something off your chest, or you're worried about something, we could sit here, we could pray. We could be pastoral. That's what we all are anyway. But we want to make sure that you feel cared for and resourced. So let me pray, and then I'll stay on, and then we can get off. Sound good? All right, let's pray. God, we know you are in this. We know you're in and above and over all this. God, we know you're in control. We thank you for letting us be a part of what you're doing, what you're up to. God, thank you for making us leaders. But if we're honest, sometimes it feels really heavy. It feels like that burden, that yoke is a little bit too heavy. And so, but we ask, Lord, you said that your yoke is easy and your burden is light. Lord, we trust you, God. We believe, Lord, help us in our unbelief, God. Empower us, Holy Spirit, to do your work, to take care of ourselves, to rest in you, to be healthy, so that we can continue to lead others to the truth of who you are and what you're up to. We love you, God. Just continue to be with us, Lord. Thank you for these leaders. In the name of Jesus, amen.
Amen. And if you have questions that weren't answered, go ahead and put them in the Q&A and we will get back to them. Another great place to get your questions answered and to continue the conversation is the Facebook group that will be moderated very closely over the next few weeks, because we know that we are in the middle of a crisis and we need to have first responders ready for you. So please, please, please don't stop the conversation. We got you.
So we're here. If anybody, if you want to type some questions, or you just want to chop it up with some other leaders, or maybe you're stuck at your house right now and you're like, I just
Looks
need
like,
some. I need some community. What, you know,
Yeah.
for you.
looks like Thomas Bracken has a question for you, Tommy. So I'm gonna try to unmute him. Just a moment.
Hey everybody, can you hear me?
There we go.
Thomas
Yep, we
Bracken
can
from
hear
the
you.
DC area. This is a question just for anybody, Bobby, Tommy, or anybody. As far as any media creative programs, I know we've been talking about a lot of social media and how we're engaging people. Is anybody using any other programs to make your content more engaging? I know, for example, like, for some who may use Zoom, they use the breakout rooms to kind of do more engaging things. I was on a call the other night where they used a website called menti.com, where they were, doing poll questions and a way to engage. But I'm just curious to hear from others who may be kind of doing this content engagement through social media, maybe any other, whatever you're doing to make it more engaging for your kids.
Who would like to answer that? Hello? So I got you on here. Sorry, I'm not sure why.
Sure, you can answer that.
Yeah, go ahead. Jump in.
Thomas, the question was basically, how do we engage more with the kids, or what was it? Kind of.
So similar to what you said, kind of like, through the Instagram Live, you all use kind of like the poll questions through the IG Live. So is there other media programs that you all are using, similar to like menti.com, or Zoom uses breakout rooms to kind of like make your content more creative? Are there other programs or websites or other tools that you all are using to make things more creative, engaging, and appealing to your young people?
No, I mean, to be honest with you, like, so this is where I'm a little different. I'm really am like, and just kind of like, I want to be as impactful where they're already at. So I don't want to pull them to a whole nother platform. When we asked the kids, they were on Instagram. So no, we don't really have a lot. Just to answer your question for myself, I don't really have a lot of other things that we're using. I mean, we do use Canva for media post. Because that is really probably the most easiest one. You could do it remotely, you could do it with Teams. And so when you're posting something like that's a picture, like that's really good for that. Canva is creatively wise, and you could share it. We do use Shot Editor to edit the stuff, to be more creative in that aspect, but there's not really anything else that we're when it comes to actually connecting with them. I mean, you can use YouNow, you can use all those other ones, but the biggest thing is knowing where your kids are at. If you create something new, we had band before and things like that, but if you create something new, you're going to have to create a new habit. That's going to take more time. My biggest advice to you is go where they're already at. It's easier because you're jumping into one of their habits already. So that's just my personal advice, and that's just what I think.
Yeah, I think that I agree with Bobby's assessment. I think you should stick to what you know and what they know and where you're interacting with them, and help them share it with their friends. But what you can do is you can increase the quality of the content. Bobby talked about it earlier. So, whether it's a microphone, and Bobby, I think you posted some of the links on the Facebook Live, and maybe you could post it on here. I also have a link to, just 10 great mics so you can buy that are kind of on a budget. There's some other things. So if you want to write this down, there's a program. It's like $60 for the year, called Wondershare, Filmora, Filmora. You can do slides, points within Zoom, video recordings. Wondershare, Filmora. I can put that in the chat as well. But just try to create quality content that they can interact with. So I think I would agree with Bobby, but then also say, like, how can you drive towards quality? Because that's what students are used to. They're used to these bloggers in their home giving great quality content. That's why these YouTubers are getting millions and millions and millions of views and really making a living off of kids watching this content. So if you're going to get their attention, it's got to have good video, good audio, and you've got to have good presentation with that as well. And so there are a lot of different things that you can do to add to that. But again, I would just try to get as good as you can on content within those platforms that you're used to.
Thank you. That was really helpful. I appreciate you guys.
I'll jump in there. I don't know, Thomas, I don't know if you ever seen Prezi. I put it on the chat, but that's another PowerPoint, but it's more interactive than PowerPoint. It actually has like a zoom effect, almost like a motion graphics, I would say. It used to be free. You could do a trial run, but you know, you can check it out. It definitely makes your presentations more interactive and engaging versus just static slides that, you know, fly in. So take a look at that. I also put the link that they shared earlier for Filmora. It's on the chat as well. So.
All right, we have a ton of links in the chat section for microphones that are good, for apps that are great, for slides that are great. So go ahead and check the chat panel to get that information. I love how everybody is sharing resources. This is what the essence of this call was supposed to be a catalyst for. So thank you, everybody.
Hey, so I'm just curious for you guys, like a little bit more like pastorally speaking, like just how are you guys doing? You know, does anybody just feel like they just kind of want to share, like honestly, maybe like, you know, you've been holding it together for your youth and your family, and but you know, just want to make a space for maybe some of you guys that are feeling pretty isolated. You might have been isolated before anyway because of our work and right what we do. But I just want to make sure, you know, you have a space, a safe space. I got to be honest with you. Last weekend, I just didn't feel like leading, to be honest with you. I just was like, I just want to ride this thing out. Just let me compound with my family and just take care of them and just be there. And I had to get to this place where I'm like, okay, Lord, what are you calling me to? And then trying to figure out, even in the midst right now, how do I do this in a healthy way? Yeah. So just to open that up to you guys, like anybody just want to share? Because when you share, I can guarantee somebody else on this call is going to be like, oh, yes, me too. So anybody want to?
Our me too is Mr. Caleb. Go ahead and share.
I think one of the biggest things that Steph and I have just been wrestling with is in a matter of 24 hours, we became homeschool parents, you know, and trying to navigate how to meet the needs of my family, my two kids. And I heard Bobby say it very well. You realize that you have kids and you realize that they're there and they need your attention as well. And I, like many of us, I get out there and I hit it hard, and it's how can we provide for others. And was it a Tuesday night? We actually did a ding dong ditch with a bunch of groceries for one of the guys in our home church. And my kids had wanted a bonfire that night and they wanted to roast marshmallows. So for one, I felt like I neglected their wants and their needs, but it was at the same time, it was a teaching point. I guess that's how I justified it. It was a teaching point to say, hey, we've got to help those who don't have anything. Look at the fridge. We've got food we're taking care of. But I think it's really wrestling with part of me. If I was honest, I wish they would just like confine me to the house, and I didn't have to be out on the streets helping others like that, if I'm just being honest. So it's balancing that of answering the phone calls, answering the text messages. We've got a network of community leaders that are looking to us. Maybe I shouldn't have taken that responsibility, Tommy, but I said yes. But it's really balancing that, because again, I've looked to others' needs prior to my family and my direct team around us. So we're kind of backtracking today. We're bringing in lunch to the office for our team because it's always been about everyone else. And so this afternoon, we're blocking out time at noon to say, all right, because I could see it in the eyes and the faces of my leaders here. And yesterday I told everybody, hey, if you need to go home and take a nap, go do it. But you can just see that they're wrestling with this going on around them. And so, yeah, I think as leaders, we can't forget about our family, our children, our spouses, and making sure we're there for them. And not just having this be a vacation, and, you know, watching TV and movies all day long. And so, yeah, just wanted to throw that out there.
That's real, brother. Thank you so much, man, for sharing that. If I could be real honest, my wife yesterday, we had a conversation. I worked at home yesterday. It was tough. And we had a conversation. She said, hey, you know, babe, I'm holding it down here, but I also feel like, am I going to have to also just get through the pandemic by myself? You know, and I'm going, hey, on the other side, like, babe, I got to lead. I need to lead this. There's a national movement going on here. I got to lead. And so having honest and real conversations about, okay, well, how do we do this well? And we came to some creative ways to do that well, where my family feels supported, where my wife feels supported. And that kind of stuff is so important, guys, because when you make those decisions, we can share that stuff with other people, and it gives them the freedom to say no, to care for themselves and their family in that way. And so that's good, man. So thank you for sharing that, Caleb. Hey, Cherie, you got to unmute yourself.
All right. Speaking of leading, I know you all have to get back to leading your communities. We're going to be back at 4 p.m. PST. So if you want to jump back on and invite some friends, that would be great. There was one question that Cynthia had. She needs an online counselor. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask Cynthia if you would join our Facebook page, and then family, if you could rally around and provide resources for Cynthia. She's looking for an online counselor. Unless somebody has one right now, they can throw out or put into the comments.
I think she said she has an online counselor. That's
oh, she has one.
She works through this, having an online counselor during this quarantine time, you know, I believe, but I'll let her answer that on Facebook as well.
Hey, Cynthia, can you go ahead and put that in the chat, please? All right. Cool, guys. We'll be back at 4, and we appreciate you, love you, and we're here for you. Tommy, any last words for the next few hours anyway, until you're back on?
Yeah, bless you guys, man. I'm just so thankful for you. We're with you, and we'll get through this together.
We'll get through this together. All right, peace.